with project management. And again, this is project management light. The real project management is done by division program managers, is what we call them, not project managers for whatever reason, when you're bringing on a new truck. That's where a lot of these things are used. When we're doing project management, it's basically a list of milestones. And that's really all you need for the projects that we would lead. Now, we would be part of the projects at division, but we wouldn't lead them. They would be led by a program manager. And here's the project life cycle according to PMBOK and ISM and everybody else. We covered initiate and a little bit of plan yesterday. Today we'll finish up plan, execute, monitor, control, and close. This is all project initiation, the RACIC list out of the CP laser, work breakdown structures, brainstorming techniques, risk analysis. All right, project planning. So governance is a set of policies that define the management and control of projects. Framework, which enables effective decision-making during the project. So this applies to projects that division runs on new truck designs. It doesn't apply to smaller projects that purchasing will run for cost reduction. Project management tools, Gantt charts, critical path method, PERT, all of these are handy things, but you need a pretty complex project to have a need for them. But we'll go through them because you'll get test questions on them. So here's your Gantt chart. Probably seen this a few times. This means that this step is completed. And today's date, we're right here. We completed part of the right report and part of the evaluation. We haven't started the interviews yet, which is probably a little backwards, but typical Gantt chart. This is what Microsoft Project does a lot. Critical path method, CPM, critical path method. So this one has a lot more detail into it. It has float and drag. And what it's trying to do is each one of these is a process step that you have to go through. And it's trying to figure out what is the fewest amount of steps that if I have any kind of delay, it's going to delay the project. So that's the critical path. And that runs right through the middle here. The rest of these, so earliest start and earliest finish, latest start and latest finish, and then delay amounts and total float is down here. All these things mean something, but the duration is the number of days in this case. I wouldn't worry about knowing what all these little symbols mean. What they really will ask is, what is a critical path? And it's the least number of steps to get the job done, and those steps can't be delayed. Then you have the PERT chart, which everybody calls it a PERT chart, but it really stands for Program Evaluation and Review Technique. So each activity is a node. So these are all activities. And directional arrows represent dependent tasks. So you got to do 5 before you do 7 or 6. And diverging arrows mean possible concurrent tasks. You can do 6 and 7 at the same time, but you got to do 5 first. Dotted lines indicate dependent tasks that do not require resources or time to complete. So get 6 and 7 done. 7 can move to 9, but 6 can also move to 9, and so can 10, but you don't need any resources to do it. And the numbers between the nodes indicate estimated time to complete the task. So 5 days, 5 hours, whatever you want to call it, 20 hours. So that's the PERT chart. It's a little simpler than the critical path method. But again, you need a pretty complex project to need something like this. Now we're going to move into the execution phase. That was planning. So execution involves executing the solicitation and source selection phases of the procurement process. I never liked it when they call it solicitation. It's an RFP. I mean, solicitation is what used car guys do. But anyway, government calls it solicitations all the time. So does ISM from time to time. Project team, ensuring the proper communication flow among members. Make sure you have some kind of change management process for the RFP. And then, what's your bid process? Who are you going to send the proposal to? How are you going to send it out? You can conduct a pre-proposal conference to get all the suppliers together and talk through what you're looking for. And you can request suppliers' responses, which you will in the RFP, and then you source selection process involves receiving the proposals and applying the proposal evaluation criteria. So you need to have the evaluation criteria done before you look at the responses. Evaluate the proposal based on the evaluation criteria you came up with, negotiate with the suppliers, and award the contract. So that's all in the execution phase. And then you go to the monitoring and control phase. So you monitor the project effort to identify variances from the plan. So are you on time and are you on budget are the two big questions. And the earned value management we'll cover in a minute. That's your major tool to tell you if you're on time and you're on budget. Schedule analysis, compare the plan schedule with the actual schedule and budget, plan budget with the actual budget costs. And then changes to the baseline SOW, T's and C's have to be handled with some change control doc. So in our division truck programs, it's all handled by change control. And they have to go through a very formal process to make changes to SOWs or timelines, mostly timelines, or budgets amounts. The CID log with change issues decision is a log where all requests changes are tracked. I think our program managers will do this for their major projects. And then they all have change request forms. So here is the earned value graph. So the blue line there, let's see. Product is over budget, actual cost minus earned value. So here we go, here's the key. So actual project cost is the purple line. Planned cost and planned value is this blue solid line. And the earned value is the orange. And then the project budget is this horizontal green line. So you can look at this and compare these two, which is the actual cost with the earned value. And the earned value is basically the cost of the work that has been performed according to the budget. So you take the time and the amounts with the budget and you put that together. And then versus the planned value. So the earned value versus the actual project cost will give you the cost variance. And then the planned value, which is the cost of the work that has been scheduled according to the budget, versus the earned value will give you the schedule variance. And then up here is your schedule slip, because this is time down here. So here's your risk up here, estimated completion cost variance. You're over budget and you're behind schedule. So that's the earned value graph. It's a good tool for a complex project, but like I say, if you're leading a purchasing cost reduction, you're not going to use something like this. All right, risk monitoring, conduct risk management activities to monitor and control projects. Look at the earned value management, schedule analysis, budget analysis, other key risk indicators. And then you've got performance management reporting, project constraints, project status compared to a baseline. Are you on time or on schedule? Are you under budget? Those are the two big questions. And constraints can be any of these: scope, quality, schedule, budget, resources, risk. Usually it's resources and budget. Milestone review reviews projects progress at specific events in the project's life cycle. So this is what we would use on a purchasing cost reduction project. It's just a list of milestones. And then you've got project closure. And we don't usually, well, I take it back. Our division program managers will go through a formal project closure because the truck is now into production. Project closure involves formally closing the project activities related to the contract and documenting the project in contract files to reflect the results. So you got best practices and lesson learned. You should just jot down, and our program managers do that. And then you post project auditing procedure. They will audit their projects at division and look at things like methods, procedures, records, properties, budgets, lot actuals versus what was the budget, any contractor performance if there is any. And then the government especially will go through a formal contract closeout process. We usually don't close out contracts because we don't usually make contracts specifically for one project. Our contracts usually cover, parts for until we get a new source. But IT will often use a contractor to help write software or something. And in that case, you would do a contract closeout once you finish the project. Now, property dispositions, product acceptance, this would be a software acceptance, and then final payments. Here's the PMBOK, which is the Project Management Book of Knowledge, or Body of Knowledge, sorry, Project Management Body of Knowledge. So this is what all the program managers and project managers, this is their certification, which is like the ISM. And it has these steps: plan purchases and acquisitions, plan contracting, request seller responses, select sellers, contract admin, and contract closure. And here's a example of what we use as a procurement management plan when a division program manager wants one. It's just basically the program team, early supplier involvement opportunities, who are the suppliers, what are the parts, where are we at with contracts, LTAs, DDAs, LOAs, SSMs, the warranty, and then some of the risks. And that's really all you need. You give that to the program manager and they're ecstatic. And any comments you got down there. All right. You've been asked by the head of supply management to develop a training program for a class for the newly hired group of supply management analysts. As a supply management professional, you decide to create case studies covering each of the project procurement management areas for use in the class. Okay. Which of the following represents the 6 procurement project management areas identified by the Project Management Institute, or the PMBOK? Those 6 that I just covered. Straight memorization question. So it ends with contract closure. Of course, all of them end with contract closure. And so now you got to decide, is it plan purchase or plan acquisitions? I think it's probably plan purchase and acquisitions. So that's all 3 of those. And it's negotiate contracts, plan contracting. I would throw out negotiate contracts, so it's B and D. Request sellers' responses, suppliers' responses, select suppliers. Now, contract termination, contract closure, that would probably be wrong. So I would go with D. Any other guesses?
No, that was a very logical process of elimination there.
Yeah, I mean, that's how you got to handle these questions, right? You start with what you know. And of course, it's C. Why? Oh, no, that's the wrong question. No, it's D.
I was like,
question. Okay, I thought my process was pretty good. All right. All right. And there's some notes for project management if you're interested. This came from one of the Six Sigma folks we had on the floor for a while. And then there's a case study if you're interested. But there's 7 questions out there. Questions 8 through 14. So why don't you start working them? Just raise your hand when you get done. Otherwise, we'll go over them at 2:25. Oh, God, you guys are fast. All right. Go over some answers here. Number 8 is Charlie. SSP would evaluate the potential effect of the new project on the quality of the existing projects, but Kettner Trigo aid in decision-making and identify problems. What would be essential to determine the company's competitive position? And number 9 is also Charlie. Analysis to identify emerging project risks or things that would be done at the start of the project rather than at closeout. 10 is Bravo. The Gantt chart shows each of the project's major steps and milestones and how much of each step has been completed. 11 is Alpha. The evaluation criteria that will be used to pick the supplier to source from should be included in the RFP, so it needs to be completed prior to issuing it. 12 is Bravo. Formula for earned value equals absolute project budget multiplied by the percentage of the project completed to date. So the project is halfway complete, so there's 100,000 for the budget times 50% or 50,000. And 13 is Delta. A change form will organize the information in the change request for easy determination of the change, and log will track the status. And 14 is Bravo. Project performance is best understood when comparing scope items to a baseline in addition to reviewing milestone achievement. All right, we've got questions for the next 2 days, so talk to you guys then.
Sounds good. Thanks, Rick.
Thanks, Rick.